Hello guys, I'm Julie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into one of the most terrifying places on Earth. No, not haunted houses or creepy forests, but way scarier. The deep ocean. Now when I say deep, I'm not talking about your casual scuba dive or a swim at the beach. I'm talking about thousands of feet below the surface where sunlight can't even reach. Down there, in complete darkness, live some of the scariest and strangest creatures ever known to science. And here's the thing. You've probably never seen most of them before. Why? Because they're so rare that even scientists have a hard time catching them on camera. Unlike lions, tigers, or even sharks, you won't find hours of documentaries about these deep-sea nightmares. So, yeah, you're getting a glimpse into a world that most humans will never, ever see in person. These creatures live in total darkness, with bizarre adaptations that make them look like something straight out of a horror movie. But remember, this isn't fiction. They're real. They're alive, and they're out there lurking in the abyss. So buckle up, because today we're talking about the scariest creatures that live in the deep sea. And trust me, some of these will give you goosebumps. Let's get started. Alright, let's kick things off with the gulper eel, also known as the pelican eel. Now if you're imagining a regular eel, forget it. This one looks like it escaped straight from a horror movie. Its mouth is absurdly huge compared to its body, like someone pressed the zoom button only on its jaw. But don't worry, despite looking like a monster, this creature usually grows only about 2 to 3 feet long. So, lucky for us, it's not a city-sized giant lurking in the ocean. So where does this oddball live? The gulper eel makes its home in the deep seas of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. You'll find them at depths of around 1,600 to 10,000 feet. That's 500 to 3,000 meters. Just for perspective, the Titanic wreck lies around 12,500 feet deep. So yeah. This eel is hanging out in some of the darkest, coldest places on Earth. Scuba divers? Forget it. They don't even reach 1,000 feet. Unless you're in a research submarine, you're not meeting this guy. Now the big question. What's on the menu for the gulper eel? Well, with a mouth that huge, you'd expect it to swallow sharks whole, right? Not really. Its diet is actually pretty humble. Small fish, shrimp, and squid. It uses its giant mouth like a fishing net, scooping up anything unlucky enough to float by. And no, they're not venomous, so there's no scary antidote needed. They're more of a deep-sea vacuum cleaner than a threat to humans. Fun fact, their tails glow with pink and red lights, which they use like a fishing lure to attract prey. Imagine dangling a neon sign in the pitch-black deep saying, "Dinner is served." That's basically the gulper eel's strategy. How long do they live? Scientists aren't entirely sure, but many deep-sea eels and fish live 20 years or more. And when were they discovered? They've been known for over a century, but sightings are rare because of their depth. Most of what we know comes from specimens caught accidentally in deep-sea nets. So, imagine you're diving peacefully, and suddenly this oversized mouth creature floats toward you. Would you scream, swim, or just freeze? Doesn't matter, because you'll never meet it face to face. And trust me, that's probably for the best. Enough nightmare fuel for tonight, right? Now let's meet a fish with one of the weirdest names you'll ever hear. The stoplight loosejaw. Sounds like a car part, right? But trust me, this deep-sea creature is as real as it gets. And once you see its mouth in action, you'll understand why it's called a loosejaw. Its lower jaw is like a steel trap that can swing wide open, and when it snaps shut, it's game over for whatever unlucky prey is nearby. So where do these strange predators live? You'll find them in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, drifting through the mid-water zone. That's the deep sea layer where sunlight barely reaches. Specifically, they hang out between 500 to 1,000 meters deep, or about 1,600 to 3,300 feet. That's way below where any scuba diver can go. Imagine exploring the ocean and suddenly spotting this thin, bony fish with glowing patches near its eyes. Oh wait, you won't. Not unless you're in a submarine. Now let's ask the big question. What's on the menu? The stoplight loosejaw feeds mostly on small fish and crustaceans. But here's the clever trick. It uses a type of bioluminescence that almost no other fish in the deep sea can see, red light. Most deep-sea creatures can only detect blue or green light, so when the loosejaw glows red, it's basically invisible, like sneaking up with night vision goggles while everyone else is blind. The prey has no idea what's coming until those jaws snap shut. Average size? They're not that big, usually around 20 to 30 centimeters long. That's 8 to 12 inches, but their jaws make them look terrifying. Imagine a ruler-sized fish that can open its mouth wider than its whole head. If it were 10 times bigger, we'd have a real-life sea monster on our hands. Thankfully, it's small enough to stay in the spooky but safe category. Are they venomous? Nope, no venom, no toxins, nothing like that. Just razor-sharp teeth and a lightning-fast jaw. And they're not dangerous to humans, unless you happen to shrink down to the size of a shrimp and go diving 1,000 meters deep. In that case, yeah, you'd be on the menu. Now, a fun fact. Their name, stoplight, comes from the two bioluminescent patches near their eyes. One glows red, that invisible night vision trick. The other glows green, which scientists think may be used for signaling or startling prey. It's like carrying around your own traffic lights in the dark ocean. When did humans first find them? The stoplight loosejaw was first described in the early 1900s, but even today, sightings are rare. Most of what we know comes from specimens caught accidentally in deep-sea trawls or filmed by robotic submarines. And because they're so fragile, they often get damaged when brought to the surface, making them even harder to study. As for lifespan, scientists think they live several years, maybe even a decade, but no one really knows for sure. That's the thing about deep-sea animals. They're masters at keeping their secrets. So picture this. You're inside a sub, the lights are off, and the only glow is a strange red shimmer in the distance. Suddenly, a thin, alien-like fish with a jaw that unhinges like a trap floats into view. What do? Scream, grab your camera, or just pray the sub's windows are thick enough? Doesn't matter. This little hunter isn't after you. It just wants its next shrimp snack. But admit it, you'd still get chills seeing it up close. That's the stoplight loosejaw, small, sneaky, and armed with one of the most unique tricks in the deep. Not venomous, not huge, but creepy enough to make you double-check the shadows in your aquarium. Now let's talk about one of the creepiest and coolest deep-sea hunters, the black dragonfish. Sounds like a mythical creature, and honestly, it kind of looks like one too. This fish is long, thin, jet black, with fangs that could give Dracula a run for his money. So, where do they live? Black dragonfish are found mostly in the depths of the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, usually between 700 to 6,600 feet deep, 200 to 2,000 meters. So again, no chance you'll bump into one on a casual scuba dive. Even submarines rarely see them in the wild. It's that dark down there. Let's ask the big question. What do they eat? Well, with those sharp fangs you can guess. Small fish and crustaceans. But here's the twist. Females are the hunters, with full sets of teeth and light-producing organs down their sides. Males, on the other hand, are tiny, toothless, and live only long enough to mate. Talk about a rough deal. And speaking of lights, the black dragonfish is basically a swimming glow stick. They produce bioluminescence to lure prey, to signal each other, and even to confuse predators. Some of their lights glow in near-infrared, which means they can see other creatures that don't even know they're being watched. That's like having military-grade night vision goggles in the pitch black. Average size? Females grow up to 15 inches, while males are just a few inches long. Not exactly a giant, but the look is enough to haunt your dreams. Imagine being 1,000 feet down, and suddenly this glowing, sharp-toothed shadow slides past you. What's your move? Scream? Swim? Doesn't matter. It already saw you first. Are they venomous? Nope, no venom here. Just pure hunting power. And are they endangered? Not really, since they live so deep, far away from human activity. Scientists believe they can live several years, but their exact lifespan is still a mystery. Fun fact, the first specimens were pulled up in the 19th century, and they looked so alien that scientists weren't even sure they were fish at first. That's how otherworldly this thing looks. So yeah, the black dragonfish, part glow stick, part vampire, part nightmare fuel. But don't worry, you'll never see one outside of a documentary, unless you plan a vacation 2,000 meters under the sea. Next up, the bearded sea devil, a type of anglerfish that looks like it came straight out of a horror flick. Big mouth, needle teeth, and a glowing fishing rod sticking out of its head. Sound familiar? Yup, this is the fish that inspired a bunch of monster designs in movies. So where does it live? Mostly in the deep Atlantic Ocean, at depths between 1,600 to 16,000 feet, 500 to 5,000 meters. That's far below sunlight, where pressure is crushing and the water is near freezing. You can forget about scuba diving here. This is submarine-only territory. Now what's the deal with that glowing lure? The bearded sea devil uses a bioluminescent fishing rod on its head to attract prey. Little fish see the light, swim closer, and bam, ambushed by the sea devil's giant mouth. Imagine a fishing line that fishes for you. That's what this monster invented. What do they eat? Basically anything that fits in their mouth. Fish, squid, crustaceans, and they're patient hunters. just waiting in the dark until dinner comes to them. Average size, females are about 7 inches long, but with their mouths open, they look way bigger. Males again get the short end. They're tiny and actually fuse into the female's body like permanent parasites. Creepy couple goals, right? Are they dangerous to humans? Nope. You're never meeting one unless you're a scientist in a deep-sea vessel. But imagine diving, and suddenly a glowing light appears in front of you. You swim closer, and then... those teeth. Nightmare material, I'm telling you. Lifespan? Scientists think around 20 years, though it's hard to study them alive. First discovered in the late 1800s, most specimens were caught in nets, all mangled, so people didn't even know what they looked like until deep-sea cameras came along. Funny thought. Imagine if these things grew to the size of a shark. Would you ever set foot in the ocean again? Good thing they're small. Small enough to haunt your dreams, but not your backyard pool. Now for the grand finale, the bigfin squid. If the deep sea has a ghost, this is it. Imagine a squid with arms so long and thin they look like wires drifting in the water. Creepy? Oh, absolutely. Beautiful, in a haunting kind of way. So where does it live? Bigfin squids have been spotted in the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans, usually between 6,000 and 15,000 feet deep, 2,000 to 4,500 meters. That's insanely far down, darker than midnight, with water pressure strong enough to crush a submarine if it's not reinforced. And here's the fun part. You will never, ever meet this creature while diving. Even submarines rarely reach their home. That's why sightings are so rare and every new video feels like discovering a ghost. How many times have humans seen it? Fewer than a dozen times in history. The first confirmed sighting was in the 1980s, but the clearest footage came in 2001 near Brazil, when scientists used a remote-operated vehicle. Since then, only a handful of encounters have been recorded worldwide. That's how mysterious this squid is. Now let's ask the question, how big are they? The body itself is about 3 feet long, but those arms? Oh boy, those arms stretch up to 20 feet, maybe more. They bend at sharp angles like elbows, giving the squid a puppet on strings look. Imagine you're in a submarine window, and this long, ghostly figure drifts past, arms dangling like cables. What would you do? Cry, scream, or just stare frozen? Doesn't matter. This squid wouldn't care. It's not out to hurt you. What's on the menu for this phantom? Scientists aren't 100% sure, but they believe bigfin squids use their ridiculously long arms like sticky traps. They dangle them through the water, brushing against plankton, small fish, and other deep-sea creatures. Anything they touch gets stuck and reeled in. Basically, it's like fishing with spaghetti arms. Are they venomous? Nope. No poison, no danger to humans, just unsettling to look at. And are they endangered? Hard to say because we barely know how many exist. Since they live so deep, far from fishing nets and pollution, chances are they're doing fine. But who knows? This is still a mystery animal. What about lifespan? Again, unknown. But if they're anything like other deep-sea squid, maybe 5 to 10 years. And natural predators, likely sperm whales, sharks, or other massive deep-sea hunters. Imagine a giant whale gulping down this ghostly squid like noodles, nature's version of spaghetti night. Now here's the funny part. The bigfin squid looks like something from a sci-fi horror movie. Slender arms floating in the abyss, giving you goosebumps just by existing. But in reality, it's shy, rare, and not harmful at all. You're way scarier to it than it is to you. Still, let's be glad they don't grow to the size of skyscrapers. That would be enough nightmare fuel for a lifetime. And there you have it. The scariest, creepiest, and most bizarre creatures hiding in the deep sea. From glowing jaws to nightmare fuel faces, these animals prove that nature still has secrets scarier than anything Hollywood could dream up. Now let's be real, you'll probably never meet any of these creatures in person. Unless, of course, you decide to drop yourself into a submarine and travel thousands of meters down into pitch-black darkness. But even then, good luck finding them, because sightings are so rare that most humans never will. Honestly, maybe that's a good thing. Imagine swimming face-to-face with a giant mouthful of glowing teeth, or seeing a shadow with long alien arms reaching out of the dark. Nope, not me. I'd rather watch from the safety of my screen, thanks. So, what do you think? Which one of these deep-sea creatures scared you the most? And be honest, if you ever saw one while diving, would you scream, run, swim, or just freeze in place? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this nightmare tour of the ocean's scariest residents, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. Because trust me, there's a whole lot more where this came from. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and remember, next time you look at the ocean, just know, 1,000 meters below, there's something with glowing eyes staring back. Sweet dreams.